Hello and welcome back to episode number 2 of the Lifestyle Lab with your host, Sam. So, again, I do want to just apologize if you are watching this on YouTube and Spotify. I am looking down to make sure that the mic is still connected and that it is still working because we had some issues with episode 1 where I was getting through 5 minutes or so and it stopped working, and that would be an absolute nightmare given that this episode I want to go on for a little bit longer. So if you do see me doing that, I do apologize. So with episode number 2, I thought it would be a good idea to go into a little bit more depth about me, and I think that would be a good idea given that this podcast will be a lot less about me and more about what we'll be talking about when it comes to fitness, nutrition, mindset, and the psychology that kind of comes with that. I want to give you guys a little bit more of an introduction to me and get to know me a little bit more, because essentially what I will be wanting to do is I will be wanting to posture myself as someone in the industry who knows what the fuck he's talking about. And I need to get you guys to trust in what it is that I'm saying and believe in what it is that I'm saying. And the only way I guess we'll be able to do that is by you getting to know me a little bit more. So I've gone ahead and I made some notes, and I have put together 10 facts about myself that I hope will give you guys a little bit more of an idea as to who I am, where I've come from, some of my experiences in life. And to be honest, I really struggled with this because it's hard it's hard talking about yourself, to be honest. And it was hard finding 10 facts about myself, but I'm hoping that these will suffice. And obviously, if any of you guys have any questions off the back of these, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to talk in depth a little bit more about any of them, should you guys have absolutely any questions. But yes, I have put together 10 facts about myself that will hopefully give you guys a little bit more of an idea as to who I am, where I've come from, my experiences. I don't really know how this will go, but fair warning, I may talk about things in this podcast that may potentially be triggering. I do not want to do that intentionally. And should this podcast raise any concerns that you have over your own well-being, over your own mental health, please do seek out the relevant support. And if that is something that you struggle to do, reach out to me and I will put you in touch with that relevant support that I am talking about. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, fact number 1, and probably the best place to start. I've been a PT for 9 years and I've been an online coach for 3 years. Now, I have, for as long as I can remember, always wanted to help people in some capacity. And essentially that started out with, when I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor, which I think about now as a 31-year-old man as being quite funny, because as I soon discovered thereafter, you do have to be quite academically switched on, shall we say, to be a doctor, to which I am absolutely not, which we will get into a little bit more depth later on. But yes, to be a doctor, funnily enough, you need to be academically switched on, which I am absolutely not. And like I said, that thought first came into my mind when I was in primary school. And obviously, I don't sit here now as a surgeon or a doctor of any kind, but that passion started very, very young, where I wanted to help people in some capacity. And it was interesting because that conversation first came about with a friend being a personal trainer, being an online coach was never something that I ever seen myself doing until it was actually brought to my attention through a friend who messaged me one day out of the blue and said, "You would be a good personal trainer." Literally. His name is Lee. I will shout him out. We've had this conversation over and over again, but he literally messaged me out of the blue one day and said, "You would make a good personal trainer." And I asked him why. And he said, "You're good with people and you've always been the fittest of the friends group." and that was literally it. It planted that seed and got me inquiring about personal training, getting qualified, etc., etc. And to be honest, it never actually came about that quickly because to be a personal trainer costs quite a bit of money up front, and it was just money that I never had at that time. And so the first go round with it was it never materialized until I had a conversation with my mum and dad who kindly loaned me the money to become a personal trainer. And sort of the rest was history. I applied for a qualification provider. I moved to Edinburgh for 6 weeks. It was fast track. And the reason it was fast track was because I wanted the one-to-one support, because I knew academically I wasn't all there. I needed someone to sit in front of me, teach me what it is that I need to know to become a personal trainer, because if it was online learning or blended learning, if any of you have ever been to university or college, you will know that these are things that are available. Nope, not me, not happening. I had to be in the classroom learning. So that is what I did. And we fast forward 9 years. Like I said in episode 1, it's just it's blown by. I can't believe to call a job where I get to help people develop their confidence, where I get to help people really find themselves, and call that a job is just absolutely insane to me, which is why the time has gone by so fast. So shout out to you, Lee. Fact number 2, I have taken part in a lot of sports in life. A lot of sports. And pretty much as soon as I could walk, I was running. I was a human dynamo. I was here, there, and everywhere. And some people would probably say that's ADHD related. I'm still undiagnosed, but that was kind of the way it was. I played a ton of sports, football, rugby, hockey, and boxing being my main 4. I had actually started playing football at the age of 10, so I was a very late entry into the sport. I started out as a defender, but I was also very, very fast, very fast. And my coach at the time decided that pace would be better suited up front. So I soon became a striker, where I played the majority of my seasons playing football as a striker. Although, having gone back occasionally to games of fives, etc., I think I would have been better suited to being a defender. But hindsight's 2020, isn't it? So yeah, I was nearly called up for Scotland. Don't be too impressed by that. That was at an amateur level. I was on the reserve list, which I still believe I should have been in the starting 11. But hey ho, things happen. And yeah, I'll still claim to the fact that I was reserved for Scotland at an amateur level. So I was all right. I was okay. And some people listening to this might say I was the best football player they ever seen. Whether they're right or wrong, I will leave it up to them to decide. So, fact number 3, I have done 3 photo shoots, with a 4th coming up, and I have competed in 3 bodybuilding shows. So as fit and active as I have been with football, rugby, boxing, and hockey, I have actually only been weight training for around 5 years. Seriously weight training for around 5 years in a bodybuilding capacity. And naturally where that led me was to do photo shoots and consider bodybuilding, which I at no point ever seen myself doing. I was always very sport specific. Like I said, I was always running around, did a lot of circuits, etc., etc. The body coach was my hero back in the day. So I did a lot of that sort of stuff. But naturally, as I started to sort of develop other areas of training and stuff like that, bodybuilding caught my eye. And like I said, I've done 3 photo shoots with the 4th coming up and competed in 3 bodybuilding shows. My first show being in 2018, total amateur. Knew that I wanted to step on stage, knew that I wanted to set myself that challenge, and stepped on stage eventually, prepped really, really hard for that for about 8-9 weeks, with the last 8 weeks being really, really tough. To the point where some would argue why I even stepped on stage in the first place. But you know what? It was an experience. It was a learning curve. I absolutely loved stepping on stage. And thankful that I did, because I suppose what it did was it planted a seed for me competing again in future, because I wasn't happy at all with the result that I had got at that time. I was committed to doing better next time round, and like I said, I'm very, very thankful that I actually did step on stage that first time round, and I ended up competing again 3 years later with a much better package, I guess we'll say, with a much better physique on stage, and won some shows as a result and got some British invites as a result. So a big success. Fact number 4, I have done some extra work, and my claim to fame with my extra work is that I was a paid extra on The Crown, the TV series. If you've not heard of it, where the hell have you been? Get yourself onto Netflix right now and watch it. But it was great. It was my first time ever being a paid extra. I have done some other stuff since, nothing too crazy, nothing too drastic. But the scene that I filmed of Prince Charles going to university was not actually used in the final edits, which I am raging about, because it was a long bloody day and we were absolutely freezing by the end of it. I was a police officer, and yeah, I had like the high vis jacket on. I even had gloves on, and there was guys behind these barriers who were playing like raving fans, but they all had like t-shirts on and stuff like that, and it was bloody freezing. And yeah, I'm gutted more so for them, because again, like I said, that scene was not used in the final edit in the end. But yeah, it was a very, very good time. Got to meet a lot of people, and it was a very, very good laugh, if nothing else. Fact number 5 is I had Barry Keoghan's number in my phone. Now, if you're from Dundee and you're listening to this will not sound like that big of a deal, because he walked the streets like anyone did. He was one of our own for a time. But for those of you who are maybe a bit further afield, Barry Keoghan, famous Hollywood actor at this point, and it was before he was Hollywood. He used to train in the gym that I coach out of, that I PT out of, and I had his number in my phone, and we trained together a couple of times before. Like I said, he went off to Hollywood, started dating Sabrina Carpenter, and forgot all about Sam Flint back in Dundee. So Yes, fun fact about me. Fact number 6, I done a triathlon when I was 19. Now, I think back to this now as someone who, for the last however long, has been doing more bodybuilding style training, now starting to dot in more cardio, runs, and all these sorts of things. I think back to what I did as a younger man, things like triathlons, swimming, and all this sort of stuff, and damn, I get bloody out of breath thinking about it, and to think that I did that when I was 19 at college, it was really really impressive. I think back to that time again as a 31-year-old now, thinking running that triathlon was a bloody achievement in itself. So yeah, you never know. Maybe, like I said, as I've started to dot more runs in and things like that, will I start to consider a triathlon? I don't think so, to be fair, but never ever thought I would step on stage and compete in a bodybuilding show, and I have. So I'm open minded. Let's put it that way. Fact number 7 was, or is, for the longest time I wanted to join the Royal Marines until I absolutely smashed my ankle in playing football. Now, there is a photo of me as a very young boy standing next to one of my friends with the green beret on from the Royal Marines, with like a green sort of sash thing. We were playing soldiers basically, and I guess from that moment there, because my dad was also a Royal Marine, my granddad was in the RAF, I'd had that influence in my life of wanting to join the Royal Marines, of wanting to join the forces. Until I got into primary school, I wanted to become a doctor, like I said. But then once I started to discover that you had to be a little bit more academically switched on, my focus started to shift slightly. And that's when the Royal Marines started to show its face again. At college, I did an NQ, preparation for uniformed services, which nurtured that want to join the Royal Marines for a large period of time. And I would say from about the age of, I would say from about the age of 12 up until the age of, it would have been, about 20. From the age of about 12 to the age of about 20, I was really set on joining the Royal Marines. And to be honest, I never really know why it didn't take off. There was a weight cap that you had to meet to join the Royal Marines, and I was always under that weight cap. But obviously, it was hard to get up to that weight cap because I was always active, always running around. wasn't that big of an eater either. So it was always hard to kind of get to that weight cap. So that always kind of stopped me. And then I always felt like I was kind of too young, even though you could join at the age of 16. I always felt like I was too young to join the Royal Marines. And then I got to the age of 20 and I absolutely smashed my ankle in, like really badly. The worst injury I'd ever had. Probably should have got surgery on it. It was, in hindsight, it was that bad. And at that point, I was in the process of joining the Royal Marines. All I had to do was go down to Lympstone, which is the training centre for the Royal Marines, to do the last test before I entered basic training, which was a 32-week long training. And yeah, smashed my ankle in. And the careers advisor at the office phoned me about 4 months after I'd smashed my ankle in, just asking for an update and what I wanted to do. And I remember exactly where I was when he phoned me, and just turning around and saying, "Nah, don't fancy it anymore. Don't want to do it." And that was 10 years up until that point that I wanted to join the Royal Marines. And in that moment when he phoned me, I said no. I said no, that I didn't want to do it anymore. And kind of from that moment, I haven't ever really given it a second thought. And I think the reason I have never given it a second thought is because I'm so enveloped and so passionate about what it is that I do now as a job that I've never once regret that decision. I just thought it was the oddest thing. Like I said, for 10 years wanting to join the Royal Marines and it be the one of the proudest things that I could ever do was for it to be gone was absolutely strange to me. So yeah, that was sort of the end of that. Fact number 8: I was clinically diagnosed with depression when I was 21. Now, this is where the podcast might take a turn where it's potentially inflammatory for some people who have mental health struggles of their own. So if this is a section of the podcast that you would rather not listen to, please tune off now. But I was clinically diagnosed with depression when I was 21, and I could think back years before that where I had bouts of poor mental health, and it was put into context for me about a year and a half ago, as to what triggered my depression. Now, for those of you that are listening who have ever suffered from depression or know anyone who's ever suffered from depression is, for me, because these are my opinions, they shouldn't be taken as gospel, is an umbrella term. And depression affects people in many different ways. It's triggered in many different ways, and as a result, the feelings and emotions that we feel as a result of that are very different depending on the person. And for me, my depression was often triggered, or my poor bouts of mental health were often triggered when my expectations didn't match the reality of my situation or the actions that I was living by at that time. And my expectations as a young man who was always physically fit, who was always quite popular, had a lot of friends, very sociable. I was always at school someone who had a lot of potential to do almost anything that he wanted to do if he applied himself in the correct ways. And as I grew up and I discovered that a lot of the opportunities that I thought that I was going to have just by having this potential weren't playing out the way that I thought that they would, started to make me feel really inadequate, I think we could say, is probably the right way to describe it. And so brought about a lot of feelings of inadequacy, brought about a lot of feelings of anxiety, pressure, and depression as a result. And I guess to then go on another few years before that being clinically diagnosed, because at that time when I was young, I was still at high school, I thought these were just normal things to go through. And whilst I still think that these are still, as part of growing up, it's a very stressful time for a lot of young people, I still do think that this is a very normal process for young people to go through. But to have that label, that label to contextualize my feelings was massively important for me, because what I could then start to do is I could start to get myself the support that I needed at that time, and have done even since, and even more regularly through therapy, through speaking with friends, family, through learning certain techniques, like journaling, CBT. I've come a long way in my depression journey, and I am certainly a lot more aware I'm certainly a lot more equipped than I ever was. But at the age of 21, I was clinically diagnosed with depression, and that affected a lot of things in my life. It affected me, but it affected relationships, friendships, opportunities. Yeah, there were a lot of things that my depression got in the way of, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I can sit here now and be the most complete version of myself that I have ever been. But I've also come to realize that as a 31-year-old man, my journey is not yet done. And as much as I have evolved as a person with my depression, and even out with my depression, like I said, in general, as a person, as a personal trainer, as a coach, as a friend, as a brother, as a son, as a boyfriend, I know now more than ever my journey is not yet done, and I want to keep developing in all of these relationships and all of these aspects of my life. And for me now, where before as a young man that would put a lot of pressure on me, I'm almost excited about that now, because I've done a lot in what has been a very short life. I have done a lot of soul searching. I have done a lot of things that I am very, very proud of. And to sit here now as a 31-year-old man, having done what I've done already, to think that there's still more of that to come is like that gets me. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to that. And to kind of, I guess, hold it here, because I know a lot of you guys will be interested in that, are interested in this fact specifically, because there'll be a lot of you who resonate with things that I have said. Whilst I've not gone into too many specifics, there have been events within my life that have been very worrying, traumatizing. A lot of moments in my life where I felt hopeless, where I felt like I've had no control or power. And those are the types of people that I want to help, and exactly why I feel as a personal trainer, as an online coach, I have a lot to offer, and I have a lot to give to people who feel those feelings that I have talked about. And yeah, I want to do as much as I can to help people realize that although you will feel hopeless, you will feel down, you will feel like you lack confidence, you will feel like you can't make headways towards your weight loss and your fat loss, you will feel like fitness and exercise is not for you, like nutrition and dieting is not for you. I want you to know that with the correct support, like I had with my depression specifically, that you can and do have the ability to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. You can. You just have to be, one, aware enough to put yourself in the best possible position to make changes, and two, be patient and compassionate enough with yourself to see it through. And yeah, me having suffered from depression and had all those feelings that I've spoke about, I feel has positioned me to be as helpful as I possibly can to anyone who needs it, not even just in a coaching and personal training space, but as a human being. So yeah, yeah. Moving on from fact number 8, we'll move on to fact number 9. I absolutely love animals. I absolutely love animals. I mean, I love a lot of people in my life. I love people. I'm passionate about helping people, of course, but I love animals. And I have a cat called Raymond, who you might see in the background here. You will not see in the background here, but that's his couch. So whilst you'll see me hosting the podcast, delivering the episodes, I do have a co-host, and his name is Raymond. And if you would like to say hello to Raymond, leave a comment down below saying hello, Raymond. I'll be sure to pass it on. He's snoring his head off right now, which he often does on that couch right behind me. So yeah, like I said, whilst I will be hosting, he'll be co-hosting a lot of the time. And fact number 10, which kind of sort of piggybacks on things that I've said already about how I got into coaching, about why the Royal Marines sort of cropped up. I was absolutely hopeless at school. Absolutely hopeless at school. And, you know, there might be a lot of people listening who were the exact same. Maybe PTs and coaches specifically listening to this will think, yes, I too was absolutely hopeless at school, because here's the thing, none of us got into PT and coaching because we were academically amazing, you know, because if we were academically amazing, we'd all have degrees being engineers and doctors and whatever else. So yes, I was absolutely hopeless at school. I left high school with one hire. Now, I think the education system is slightly different now in terms of how they award educations. They were called hires back in my day. And I left high school with one hire, and it was a hire that I'd done over 2 years, and it was a bit of a joke. So if you're someone who was in my year at school, please comment down below and laugh if you ever remember the time that I showed people what my timetable was, because everyone had sort of 5-6 hires that they were working through where they had to be at any given time, and mine was one. One hire, which involved me being in class, and it was PE. Of course, it was PE. It had me being in class like 2 times a week or something like that. And you're probably wondering, okay, Sam, so what did you do for the rest of it? I actually got to sit in on other people's subjects and classes. So I remember one of them being advanced higher history. Another one was I got to sit in a biology class at one point, got to learn a little bit about biology, advanced higher history, all these sorts of things. So yeah, and I think I don't actually know if this is true, but I think if you are a student of that um of that ability, you're just encouraged to leave and go to college. I never actually ever got encouraged to leave. And I think the reason I never ever got encouraged to leave was because I was pretty sound. I was pretty sound. I think people liked me. I think they liked having me around. I wasn't a bad kid at school. I just wasn't academically aware whatsoever, and I didn't want to apply myself in that sense. And so I never so yeah, I never got asked to leave. And again, I'm thankful. I read off all those facts, and I hope that I've done a good job at sort of painting a picture as to how I've got to this position in life and how I sit in front of this mic now and in front of this camera now, wanting to do more for people than I had when I was in that position where I felt hopeless and I felt like I couldn't do things, and I felt like my options were running out. And again, like I said, I hope with the facts that I have given you, I have helped paint a little bit more of a picture as to who I am, as to why I want you guys to subscribe and follow me and ask questions and reach out to me and speak to me and help me have as much of that impact, like I spoke about in episode 1, as I can possibly have. So yeah, if there's anything that I have said, anything that you want to ask about, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I really am excited to be delivering more episodes to you, getting more guests on so we can have more open and honest discussions about fitness, health, training, how you guys can start to take a lot of that information, start applying it to your own lives, and 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 make the world a happier, healthier, more confident, more fulfilled version than it is right now. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. As always, all my links to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube will be down below. And I very much look forward to chatting with you.